Here, you can exercise your rights to freedom every day without leaving your home. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Real Talk with myself, Anele Mdoda. Happy Mbokodo Day. Happy Women's Day. Thank you for joining us when you could really be anywhere else. It's a public holiday after all. And just 61 years later, the saying, you strike a woman, you strike a rock, still remains as one of the most powerful slogans which demonstrates the effective power of women in union in the fight for human rights and social justice. If anything, Dr. Ncumisa Jilata, Dr. Musawenkosi Saurombe, as well as Professor Cosbie Mbele have in common, they are academics and intellectuals, combining this with the spirit of daring new heights, going where nobody dares to go. Today, we've got the privilege of hearing the stories of their journeys. The first guest is the youngest African to acquire her doctorate in neurology. I mean, I almost just put myself saying neurology, and she's that. In May last year, Dr. Ncumisa Jilata was amongst the latest fellows to join the Council of Neurosurgeons of South Africa, making her the youngest African and black woman. Well, I always say I like smart people on my show. It makes me look good. Here we are. Welcome, Doc.
Hi, Anele. What a welcome.
Doc.
Yes, they
Doc.
do.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah. So, your friends, though, what do they call you?
Some call me Ncumi. A lot of them call me Lihle. I've got two names, so they actually use them concurrently. So you can either choose Ncumi or Lihle. It's up to you.
So
or Ncush, but I hate that one. But my family actually uses that one.
But Ncush is such a party one as well.
Oh my God.
Please
don't use it.
Exactly.
So that's the other one.
Oh my word, are you proud of yourself? I mean, do you just like wake up in the middle of the night, you're like, doctor, man?
You know what? Being a doctor for now has been for me, I think for the past 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Well, counting back from the days of internship.
Okay.
So I think the proudest I've been in terms of the title itself, I think was when I started internship in Joburg Gen. On the first day you get there, I mean, the previous month you were a student.
And then the next thing,
so
you're a doctor.
You get there, and I think somebody calling through to the ward. I was sitting in the sister station, and they call, and then the sister looks back and she says, they're looking for one of the doctors. So I looked around as well. And they're like, doctor, that'll be you. So I said, oh, yeah.
So
like,
I
think
well,
that's
one of the doctors better head on over there right now, hey.
So
and then they're like, Sissy.
It was one of those moments where I realized, oh, wait, I am a doctor, you know. So
neurology, that's working with the brain.
It's actually neurosurgery.
Neurosurgery.
Yeah.
Which is what?
It's actually, it's a field that mainly deals with the diagnosis and treatment, which can either be medical or surgical, of any pathologies really that you find in the brain, the spinal cord, and peripheral nerves. And of course, the supporting structures around those. So we deal with mainly problems that happen, which can be either tumors or vascular problems, like, you know, certain types of strokes, you know, that's basically...
So have you ever, like, opened someone's like head in the brain, and then you do that thing they do on Grey's Anatomy?
Well, I do that almost daily. That's part and parcel of the job, and of course, part and parcel of the training process itself. So, of course, the first operation I did, I think I took about 5 hours, in an operation that generally usually takes about 2 hours. But because I was, of course, very junior, very slow, you know, it's a fascinating field, but of course, also quite scary.
Yeah.
So, but it's fascinating.
Because you see, everything I know about this is from, you know, medical shows, and you know they lie to us. So I'm going to ask you something else. When the brain is open and you're operating, right? Are you careful of what you're saying? Just in jail, like, because you guys talk to each other during that, right?
Yes, of course.
Are you careful about what you're talking about? You're like, yo, son, and the shows, you know, things like that. Because you've got somebody's brain open. Could they be like something that you're saying that goes into their brain?
No, to be honest with you, Anele, it's to us it's a job. As fascinating and scary as it is a job. So of course you're careful while you're operating, which will include, of course, I like to play classical music in theater. you know. But the chatting itself, it's like you chatting to your friend or to your boss. So we'll chat about everything, including what happened last night. Did you go out? Did you do this? Did you do that? But there comes a point in time, say you're trying to clip an aneurysm, for example, which is almost, it's when one of the blood vessels is abnormal and sort of has, it almost looks like a pimple, like a bulging, an abnormal bulging.
Like a boil.
Yes,
almost,
now
yeah?
that can burst, which causes problems.
It must be sensitive.
So when you're trying to, let's say, clip that now to sort of occlude it, then I think it's the only point in time where you can feel the tension in theater, you know, everybody sort of stands back and it's quiet and it's you, it's the patient. You can now hear the sound of everything, including the monitors, all of that. So it's a bit nerve-wracking, but I must say the contentment that you feel afterwards when it goes well, nothing can describe it.
You wanted to be a fashion designer, though?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Fashion designer, neurosurgeon. How do you know? Why?
You know what? The two are actually interlinked, if you think about it. A friend of mine, her name is Unati, her mom recently reminded me, she said to me, you know, I remember when you guys were, I think, 10, 11, 12, you used to take every piece of material we had at home and cut it up and start, you know, dressing your dolls and this and that. Now, that takes skill, it takes finesse.
Steady hands?
Creativity, exactly. Now, the only difference now is that I sort of got a fascination with the neurosciences and the human body and how the brain works. And I think most people in life, you sort of go through these moments where you think to yourself, how does the brain work? Does God exist? You know, all these questions. But I thought, okay, of the number of questions, this is the one I think I can answer. I can attain. I can get to learn how, you know, how the brain works, because now you've sort of been taught the circuitry of the nervous system, you know, how everything works. So still here, you have to apply creativity. This is scientific art, you know. You've got to have finesse. You've got to...
Wait, stop.
Yes.
I'm so fascinated by you right now. Can we be friends?
Of course.
Yay!
Actually.
Yeah. We both from Umtata, so I'm not fanning out all that much. This is normal. Okay. So when you say it's creative, what's creative? Because I mean...
By that I mean, firstly in neurosurgery, no patient is the same as the one you saw before, even if the condition is the same.
So our brains are never the same?
Well, let me say the conditions and the patient's presentations, yes. Number two, no day is ever the same as the previous one. Okay. So now with all of that and the scientific knowledge that you've been taught, you sort of have to then individualize the management. So you and I may have the same tumor, but then I may present differently. So the management then has to be different and tailored to that particular patient that you're dealing with at any given point in time.
And I suppose also when you caught the tumor is also different. So how far it's developed is different as well. So it could be the same type of tumor, but not necessarily where you guys then catch it to try and...
Exactly. At times it's small, at times it's so massive that most of the brain is compressed, or actually it's an infiltrative tumor, you know.
So it's going through
the different, you know, circuit parts of the brain itself. So like I say, it takes creativity in that there are multiple different approaches that you're going to be taught to try and approach a specific part of the brain or the intracranial cavity, you know. But of those 3 or 4 different approaches that you've been taught, you then need to sit back. For every patient, you sit back, you think to yourself, okay, fine, this one is involving this area, that area. So of the 3 or 4 different approaches, which one then fits this patient? Okay. And even then, I mean, like you're asking now about fashion designing, which includes suturing and you know, all of that. This is the same, you know, you open up, of course, a little bit more difficult than that, but opening up the brain, you know, you start by opening up the scalp itself, you go to the bone, you know, you have to be taught how to open the bone in a particular way to expose certain parts, you know. I always say the brain is very protected. I don't think it was meant to be approached at any point. So you've got to work to get to it. You've got to navigate through to get to it. So, of course, later on, once you're done, then it involves suturing. So I guess the skill from having practiced for fashion designing is now sort of
it's paying off.
It's paying off.
I am so fascinated. You know what I love more than anything is that there is a little girl sitting watching the show right now, and she's like, you know what, Mom? I'm going to become a neurosurgeon. Listen, the road wasn't always easy for her. Let's find out after the break how she did it, what route she took, and ultimately how she got here in the male-dominated field. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Real Talk with myself, Anele. I am in a fascinating conversation this Women's Day with one of our youngest female neurosurgeons who has just joined the select few women trailblazers in neurosurgery. Mtata, she's our person. Make some noise for Dr. Ncumisa Jilata. Oh, what?
Oh, God. I had a feeling you'd like that one.
I love it. It's such a fun.
No, you can use it.
So now, what subjects do you have to take? Because I know that you didn't take biology and then you decided that you wanted to do this. So then you had to cram biology and kind of catch up in it.
It was actually physics that I hadn't done, yes. But it was biology that made me realize that I like neurosciences. So I hadn't taken physics, partly because, I don't know if you remember in Umtata High School, we used to have streams. So sort of your stream was merit-based and at the same time depends on what you are interested in for the future. So at that point in time, I had, this is going to make me sound like a confused person, but I had decided to now go into accounting. So I thought, okay, fine.
Fashion designer who can do her books and fix your brain. Exactly. What's wrong with that?
So at that point, I decided, okay, fine, I can work with accounting, maths, you know, the usuals. And then, of course, there was the option of doing history as well. And then because of my liking for political sciences, history, you know, world history, I thought, okay, this could be nice. And I actually enjoyed history. So I thought, okay, fine, I'll do that. Then, of course, with the introduction now of, like, as I mentioned before, the electrical circuitry of the nervous system as a whole, I thought, oh my goodness, there's nothing else more fascinating. I actually finally sort of have an answer to the question, what is the brain and what it actually does? You know, so I thought, okay, then I have to try to find out if I'm to go into medical school, what do I need? And they said, okay, fine, you're going to need physics as well. So I think it was then halfway through grade 11 towards the end. So I had to then sort of cram it in matric, the whole thing, in terms of grade 10, 11, 12 physics. So
are you naturally smart or are you a very hard worker?
I think it's a combination of both. Generally, I come from, I'd say, an academic background.
Okay.
You know, my dad is an attorney, my mom is a high school teacher.
Okay.
So naturally, there's never an option in terms of, well, I might not do varsity, I might not, that's not an option.
No, there will be no gap years in this house.
There is no gap year.
Okay.
You know, to this day, I still think, oh, can't I take a gap year? I mean, I never had the chance, you know, but then I never had that option. So it was a matter of deciding of the available options, which one do I like the most? So then that's when I decided, at some point I was told, no, you can't do 7 subjects. There were some issues there, I remember, with my high school principal at the time. But of course, my dad is a diehard. So
and is an attorney.
Yeah, so he went there personally to say, well, you know, the South African Constitution is like this, and this is what is allowed. And so if she wants to take,
this is what will happen.
You know, they stipulate the minimum is 6, but nobody stipulates the maximum. So if you want to take 7, you will take 7. And literally that's how it happened. And I did physics. And after that, of course, I had to get an extra tutor, which was one of the physics teachers, because now I had to cram in this amount of work into basically 1 year, you know.
Wow.
So then I passed, went on to varsity, and that was at Walter Sisulu University to start medical school.
Would you say that was the toughest time, having to do 7 subjects and, you know, catch up, or did things just get tougher for you along the route?
I would say throughout my academic career, the toughest was registrar time, trying to become a neurosurgeon. Oh. So for all those moments in time, I think at that point, I mean, your brain is still fresh in high school. I think you can take on any amount of, exactly. And with aging and of course the work commitments as well, you know, that come with adulthood.
And the comfort of knowing, but I'm already a doctor.
I don't know if it's really a comfort, but because, you know, when you start doing things like internship and you go to academic hospitals, like where I went, Joburg Jane, even there it becomes sort of the norm. There is no option but to specialize because everybody that's your registrar, everybody that's teaching you is a consultant, you know, so you sort of go through that 2 years of internship trying to think, actually, I don't have an option. I need to specialize and do something because that's then the next milestone, you know. So then, you go on and you apply, and I ended up going to University of Pretoria to do neurosurgery. And of course, I must say, I think that was the toughest 4 years of the whole academic, career.
Do you get paid a lot?
Not at all.
Why? But you're so amazing. You open brains.
Well, when you're a registrar, you are a registrar. It doesn't matter what field in the registrar fraternity you've decided. So you can be either dermatology, it can be pediatrics, it can be neurosurgery, it can be general surgery. The point of the matter is that your post in that academic hospital, you are a registrar.
Okay.
So perhaps things then start being different once you start doing maybe private practice after you've qualified. So then you earn a bit more. But as a registrar, everybody gets the same salary.
So your title, right? You are the youngest neurosurgeon on the continent. The youngest female.
Yes.
You're the youngest female neurosurgeon on the continent.
Yes.
Okay, surely somebody's got to be giving you money for that.
No.
Like, come on.
Maybe after your show they will, but as it stands, no.
Just give us something, a private jet, a car, something.
But to be honest with you, this part of passing, being celebrated by the country the way that I've been celebrated, I didn't expect it. For me, it was, I just need to get this exam out of the way. I need to pass. I need to, start my life, So I must say I've enjoyed this part as well.
Because when I saw the article, I was sitting with my team, and I remember saying to them, this is what I like about excellence, is that, in the age that we're in, people set out to be famous, right? And I just want to tell every child that if you are excellent at what you do, you will be famous.
That is very true.
There's no doubt about it. Serena Williams didn't want to be famous. She wanted to play tennis.
That's true.
But look who she is right now, because she's excellent.
Just recently, I was chilling with my cousins in Pretoria, and one of them says, so did you expect this, or is this what you've wanted? I was like, actually, I didn't. At all, all I wanted was to pass. So I guess the rest is really just God's way of saying congratulations. This is,
Congratulations. And also, when somebody's like having an argument with you or they're debating with you, they're like, brain surgeon either. Now you can be like,
But I must say, Anele, with that phrase, it's not brain surgery. I think it's really, it's a misconception that at times serves only to sort of give people fear about neurosurgery. I won't speak of rocket science. I've never done it.
Which is another thing.
I'll speak of neurosurgery. You need to be hardworking. That one I can't take away, unfortunately. But you don't, and I'll say this, you don't need to be, extraordinarily smart. You can be taught the things. If you have an understanding of neurosciences, and you have an understanding of generally wanting to know how things work and wanting to know how to fix them. And of course, by virtue of having passed MPCHB in medical school, you do have the brains.
You've got the base.
So when people say it's not brain surgery, I always find no, but this only serves to to increase the misconception about neurosurgery.
People are not allowed to go. There's a select few, and you're saying if you work hard at it and you've got a passion for it,
you will do it, and you will do well at it.
Dr. Ncumisa Jilata, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for
but I still like the saying, brain surgeon. When we return from the break, I'll be joined by a millennial who's made many so proud, a young Black South African who recently made history by being one of the youngest female PhD graduates. You want to come back? This continues. You're watching Real Talk on SABC3, where the stage is yours. We are joined now by a young woman who at the age of 23 became one of the youngest women, not just in South Africa, but on the continent. Cape to Cairo, Baba, to have a PhD. Apart from academics, one of her passions is youth empowerment, and her ultimate goal is to be a youth-focused philanthropist. We welcome to the show Dr. Musawenkosi Saurombe.
Thank you so much, Anele,
Doctor,
for that warm welcome.
At 23?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so how long did it take you to click? When you fill in forms like at Home Affairs and stuff like that, they say Mr., Miss, Doctor. You were probably kicking Miss for a while, right?
For a while. It's actually very funny because even when I was applying for my PhD, I couldn't sign my own forms. I still needed a guardian. My parents had to sign for me, so that was very embarrassing.
And because, weren't you in varsity at the age of 16?
Yes, I was.
You did your first year at 16?
Yes, I did.
Did you not feel like, I'm a little young to be amongst all these young adults. I'm a little intimidated.
Well, not necessarily. I allowed myself to blend in, so most of them were actually not aware.
So they just thought you were a little person.
Yeah, they just thought I was
Like
really
a
short.
little old person.
Exactly.
They were just like, she is short.
Yeah.
So you started school at how old? 5 years old, I believe.
5 years old.
Uh-huh.
Standard 1, grade 1.
Grade 1 was, you were 5 years old. Where was this, in Botswana or Zimbabwe?
Yes, in Botswana.
In Botswana. But you were born in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
So-
I moved to Botswana when I was 6 weeks old. My mom actually only went back to give birth to me. So.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So then you grew up in Botswana and then you do primary school in Botswana as well.
Yes.
So when you got promoted from grade 3 to grade 4, was that in Botswana?
Yes, it was.
And what do they say to you? Because, I mean, you understand, you do 1 year, then you do 1 year. Now you're in grade 3, you've got your lunch, you've got your, you know, your Barbie backpack, and you're like skipping to school. They're like, you're promoted. What's going through your mind?
Well, I was a very hyperactive child. So my teacher felt that, you know, most children that age would be diagnosed with ADD, ADHD. However, my teacher felt that I just needed a challenge because I'd finish my work very quickly and then disrupt. So she advised my parents that how about we try her out for standard 4 or grade 4.
You like Matilda? You ever watch Matilda?
Is it?
She's like got superpowers.
Oh, yeah,
And then
yeah,
when they move up to a higher class, so that you could so that needs more of a brain,
Yeah.
then she comes down.
Exactly.
You are Matilda. So then 16 you matriculate and you're off to varsity, and by 19 you get your first degree.
Exactly.
What's going through your mind then?
I was thinking, first thought was, okay, I did human resource management.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to be anyone's manager at 19 who's going to listen to me. Let me do my honors.
Okay.
Yeah, so I proceeded to do my honors, but that didn't really make a difference because I was 20 when I got done with that, and still I felt nobody would take me that seriously.
So then you're like, let me go do my master's.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. And then I did that. Duration should have been 2 years. I managed to complete it in 1. So
Okay, what does that mean? Because if the varsity says this is the syllabus and we do it in 2 years, surely that's what you abide by. How did it happen that you decided, you know what, let's just take these two together, slap them together, and I'll just run through it quickly?
well, I guess with postgraduate studies, it becomes a whole lot more flexible. It's your pace and your ability, how you're able to cope with the area of study, and that's what gets you ahead, depending on your pace. That's why other people can take 5 years you know, to complete a postgraduate program.
And also because postgraduate, it's when most people are working as well and still studying
Exactly.
as well. Okay. So because then you were still in varsity.
Full time.
And then your age is arriving, right? Like your age says that's what you out there doing your masters, and then the people in first year, you're like, hey, we're the same age. What challenges did you find? I know you say that you just blend it in, but I mean, I always find that it catches up with you some way or another.
Definitely it does, because people start to realize, you know, one way or another, it comes out, and then people are like, okay, so you're way younger. And you know, just generally your mind, the way our psyche is built, you know, you just start to feel that discrepancy that, you know, I'm significantly younger than these people. However, you're held to a certain standard or expectation. Obviously, as a master's student, they expect you to behave in a certain way.
Yeah.
However, there's this pull that gravitates you to be this child because you're still a child, you know? And it became very difficult in a way to act the age of the people I was at par with instead of with my peers. So a lot of my peers ended up seeing me as a boring person because they felt I didn't really relate well with them because I always had to exhibit a certain level of maturity.
And your parents, are they aware that these are the push and pull they're going through, or are they like, listen?
They're very aware of it. In fact, usually I'm a lot more playful at home, actually.
Yeah.
People usually know two extreme sides of me. There's that very serious person and there's the very playful person. And sometimes other people meet me in one context, never in the other. And then you have two people maybe that meet, mutual friends, and then they're like, do you know Musa? And it's like, yeah. Oh, the quiet one, the shy one. And they're like, what? She's not quiet.
She must have been having a down day because we know her.
Exactly, yeah.
And you said at a point your parents were pretty much over supportive, that you had to ask them, like, guys.
Yes.
What do you mean over supportive? What are they like? Are they calling you every day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day?
Pretty much.
Come on,
If
guys.
I go off the radar for like an hour, my mom will call the entire South Africa probably looking for me. Like, yeah.
Are you an only child?
No, I'm the only girl.
Oh, that's what happened. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And what are your brothers like?
Cool, calm, and collected, if I'm to describe them in simple terms. Very smart. I believe they're smarter than me, actually. They're pretty cool, I guess.
Do you think you inherited the genes of smarts? Because when you say your brothers are smarter than you, then it means it's like a family of smart people.
I don't actually know.
Are your parents smart? Are they like
They
academics?
I believe my parents are quite smart, even though they always had the opportunities to exhibit that. However, according to how I see it, and you know, a lot of the times with our parents' generations, most of them ended up having to go to school after, you know, we already arrived.
Yes.
And then you see that, you know, with all this responsibility,
With
and this
kids.
person is in school.
And a bond and a
Exactly,
job.
exactly.
And they're studying and they still
Yes.
bring an MBA. You're like, whoa,
Exactly.
calm down here.
Yeah. And at one point, when I was in high school, I had my phase of playfulness where I wasn't that serious with school. And my mom was in school at that time at the University of Botswana, and she was getting 80, 90%. And I was there just making it, you know, barely, you know, making it, you know, just to survive in high school. And it was very embarrassing because she'd be like, look, I've got to feed you. I've got to do all these things for you. And you just here with very minimal responsibility, but
You like have maths, history, science, geography, you know, just on higher grade.
Exactly.
That's it. And you have a break time where you get to go eat your lunch tin and you come back and play games and watch cartoons.
Exactly.
And you're getting through with 50.
true.
It's not gonna work. Listen, time for a quick ad break. Musawenkosi and myself will be back for more of this right after this. And welcome back. Sitting with us right now is one of South Africa's youngest female PhD graduates, Dr. Musawenkosi Saurombe. She started her university studies, with a BCom at the age of 16, which she completed by 19, leading her to a postgraduate study. She received her honors and master's degrees with distinctions at the age of 20 and 21, respectively. She skipped grade 3 and was promoted to grade 4 after just one term. After completing matric at the age of 16, she decided to move to South Africa to pursue a bachelor's degree at the Northwest University. Musa is currently a postdoctoral fellow at the Northwest University campus in Mafikeng and is responsible for the teaching and supervision of postgraduate students. She's also a member of the Golden Key International Honor Society Executive Committee. What does that mean? The Golden Key part?
Golden Key, well, it's an international honor society that invites the top 15% of every study program.
In the world?
Yes, pretty much. In the countries that it operates in. So it's founded in the United States. This year is actually the 40th birthday of Golden Key.
So you're flying over there for a swanky party?
Yes. Yeah.
What do you guys talk about around the table at these things? Like, I was reading in the medical journal that
Oh, well, not necessarily. You get there and you expect people to be uptight, but people are actually very, you know, they let loose, and you get to see a whole different side of academics.
like you, that Musa and
Yeah.
that Musa. So what are the benefits of belonging to something like this? You know, is there like a secret society you can get into? Is there like a club in the cans that the rest of us can't get into, but you can? Spill.
Not necessarily.
Come on, spill.
Because we're not expected to be found in the club. you know.
Okay.
However, you do have scholarship opportunities whereby you cannot be entitled to those unless you're a member.
Okay.
And then you have, obviously, your travel opportunities. You get to attend these academic conferences. They can sponsor you for that. You also have a lot of other, you know, benefits of being a member. You get to hone your community skills, your community engagement, community service, and then your leadership as well. They offer, you know, leadership, skill, training, and all that.
So, and let's say, because right now I know that you are in charge of postgraduates at the Northwest University. What are you, like, what's your job right now?
Okay, well, I'm mostly doing research.
Okay.
So I assist also, you know, as a co-supervisor for some of the postgraduate students. And mostly I'm working on publishing because ultimately the goal is to become a professor.
All right. So let's say you're in research and right now, and you've got something that's quite tricky. Do you have the database of the golden key where you can say, you know what, this guy's part of it. I'm pretty sure he could help me out. You've got that, like, that direct line that you can just call him up and be like, I have this issue. Can you help me solve it?
Well, yes, we do have that kind of platform where we're able to network with each other.
Yes.
And it's really helpful because you get people that assist you in the same field as you.
At your disposal?
Of course.
Okay. And philanthropy, you know, where does that side come from? Why are you so into it?
Well, I believe that as human beings, our ultimate goal is to achieve a purpose, a certain purpose for which you've been established here on this earth. And your purpose has to be one that touches the lives of others, not to just live for yourself. It's so easy to get caught up in focusing on you. You just trying to get by. You get a good job because you want to go on a couple of holidays in your lifetime, and then you want to prepare a good retirement for yourself. However, ultimately, there's someone else that's waiting to benefit from your skill, from your gift. How are you sharing your gift with other people? And it becomes very selfish because someone out there will forfeit the benefit of your gift if you don't share it with them.
Oh, wow. Okay. You hit us hard there. 23-year-olds shouldn't be speaking like that. Okay. That's quite amazing. So what challenges did you know, besides being very young, I know you said you flunked out of a course because you couldn't wake up in the morning.
Yeah. You know, it's actually very funny because on my academic record, it's written there DNQ.
Which means?
Did not qualify, meaning you got 0. You didn't even participate. So at first, when my parents saw that and they asked me, what's DNQ? I was just like, no, they registered me for the wrong course. And, you know, I only confessed after I graduated for my honors degree because I wasn't just about to get in trouble for that.
You know, those looks and be like, yeah. You came back here with if you make a cup of coffee wrong, this is why you're coming back with DNQs, because you can't even make coffee.
Exactly.
Yeah?
So, but it was a good learning curve. I believe that one who's never experienced failure will never really appreciate success.
Okay. And I know you think very highly of your mom. I mean, she's somebody that you know you hold in high regard. Growing up, like, who were you looking at as your compass? Like, you know what, if I could do things the way that person did it, I'm on the right track, yo.
It's funny that you mentioned that with my mom in the same sentence. Because she always said, you know, if you came home and then you did something and then you tried to hide behind somebody else, she would ask you, why did you go and ring the neighbors' intercoms or whatever? And you're like, but my friend Mang Mang, and she'd be like, you are not Mang Mang, you are you. So you're not supposed to be trying to be like anyone else. You are you, and I don't expect that from you. And you need to understand that you have to follow a certain path that defines you, not a replication of somebody else.
So so because of that, you've always been like, you know what, I'm Musawenkosi, and...
Of course. And of course, there are people that you draw inspiration from, but the goal is never to be like them, but to take the positive from them and then do it, you know, in a way that's better but that reflects you, you know.
So I know there's many people watching you now, especially many young girls who are watching you now. And obviously now they're deriving from you and they're taking the positive from you. You know, what's the one thing you want them to take away from this conversation?
Well, the one thing that I will say, especially to young women, is that you should never chase after frivolous things in life. And especially now in our generation where it becomes relatively acceptable even for us to, you know, pursue other things, even pursue, you know, men, for instance. Rather pursue your goal and your purpose, the purpose that God has intended for you. And whichever man that God has intended for you will chase after you.
Yes.
So chase after your goals and your dreams, and the rest
It comes to you. So are we doing our driver's license? Are we?
We are. We are doing it.
Are you,
I'll call you when I get it.
Because, you know, I read this newspaper, and then, you know, all your achievements, I'm like, oh, right. And then at the end, then I know, then they're like, yeah, she just hasn't had time to do her driver's license, so she's still out there. And I was like,
boy.
so what, are you in your lessons? Do you know how to drive?
I can drive.
Okay.
But I drive with a birth certificate for now.
Okay.
So the plan is to get rid of the birth certificate and now drive properly.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And the day you get that license, you won't let us know.
I will.
It's also like, if I was a cop and I pulled you over and it's like dog time, like, yo, sorry, sister, sorry. Sorry. Yeah. On your way you go.
Yeah.
On your way you go. Listen, thank you so much. Inspiration that you are. I think that people think that you've done so much now.
Thank you very
One
much.
of these days, you're going to get yourself a Nobel Peace Prize, ne?
I receive.
You receive. It is yours. It is yours.
Thank
Time
you.
for another quick break. When we return, I'm joined by another Mbokodo who is championing the recognition of young, talented people. Stay with us. You're watching Real Talk with Anele right here on SABC3. Welcome back. Our final guest today is a professor, an actor, a dancer, and has produced 3 albums and published her autobiography, Lady Africa in America. Having lived in the United States for just about 23 years, at a very young age, with just a teacher's diploma, she left South Africa to pursue the American dream. She is the recipient of the National Living Treasure Award in recognition for her work in promoting and preserving our heritage. Her passion for the arts pushed her into establishing a project that is aimed at encouraging the teaching of arts in schools and universities. Mbele has established an arts project that will honor those who keep the arts torch burning. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to the humble and the multi-talented Professor Cosbie Mbele.
Thank you for that welcome.
Dude, I mean, you've done it all, okay?
Yes.
But I want to know what happens in your mind when you decide, with a teacher's diploma, you know what, I'm leaving South Africa. Let me go find out what's happening in this America. What was that about?
Hey, you know, I had a teacher in primary school who believed in me. I remember when he taught me for 4 years, and I used to be number 1 all the time. And then he would give me challenges, you know, would say, you know, I want to see you somewhere next to the Rhine River or swimming somewhere. Don't end up here, Cosby, like me, teaching in one classroom for 30 years, you know? So I just had that dream that one day I'll fly over, I'll go and meet Miriam Makeba, and I'll be an astronaut. And my mother said, you know what, stick with Miriam Makeba first, because astronauts, where will you take a shower? And then when you come back, you know, you come back home, what will you do? I said, oh, no. Okay, fine, it's fine.
You know, you strike me as a bit of a hustler, right? Because you go to America and then you find yourself in these circles with many people like Paul Simon and Michael Jackson and the Reverend
Jesse Jackson.
You know what I'm saying?
Stevie Wonder.
How does that happen? Were you just always in the right place at the right time, or did you always have your ear to the ground, or were you getting invited to these places?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, as an artist, sometimes you get invited to a very prestigious, maybe prestigious, I can say, event. And the reason I use my Lady Africa in America is because when I arrived there during the 80s, it was in 81 or so, people are so naive about our continent,
Africa.
you know? They would ask questions that you feel, well, you know, this person really needs to be taught, really has to, you know, wake up. I mean, questions, they thought maybe we live with the mountains, the lions and whatever. So I remember at one point, and already I was lecturing at the City University of New York, and somebody just would raise a hand, you know, and ask if, you know, we live with animals, where did I learn English? You know, am I sure, am I really from Africa? I said, yes, I'm from Africa, yes, South Africa.
Also, this is the days before the internet.
Yes,
So they
yes,
don't
so
have
they
our
didn't
Instagram
know.
pages to go see that
Yeah,
we wearing clothes.
We were, you know. So I remember one day, one of the students said something that sort of offended me, but I kept cool. And I decided that, you know, while teaching here, I'll spread my wings. I got a radio show where I would promote South African artists. You know, where I remember some of the artists who came there, about Don Laga, Sipho Mabuse, Okembuli. So I would promote them in my show. Then one day, I had to interview people like the president of Ghana, Rollins. And he said, you know, I want an African to sing in my event. It was a Ghanaian event. And then I went there and I performed, you know, songs that are, you know, that liberate the mind. And some of the music that I had were things, songs like Let's Unite. I was saying, let's unite as Africans. Let us unite, let's stop fighting. And somebody would see me performing there, you know, whether he's a president of another country. And Stevie Wonder was there on that show. And he said, you know what, I'm doing something also about Africa. How we, as African Americans, not Black Americans, actually he's the one who pushed the word African Americans, because some of them didn't want to associate themselves with Africa. So he was doing that, and that's how I met him. And then we talked about South Africa. Wherever I was, I would talk about my country, South Africa. And then Paul Simon was the same thing. Utumagandlof invited us, and he knew I had an album with my brother, Urudi. It was the four of us as a family. So when we grew up, you know, my parents were very strict. So we didn't just play in the streets and whatever. So we decided to sing. And then fortunately, we were able to record our first album. And when I left, really, it was after I had taught some of the students that I adore, Elubone. And then one of the classes was students from Morris Isaacson.
Is this where the love of promoting the African culture came from? The fact that first you were just teaching your students, and it was a byproduct where you were teaching them about Africa and South Africa, and then it became like a passion for you.
It became a passion. You know, I was one of the teachers who always pushed the arts. I would identify students who are good in debate, students who are good in singing. Sometimes I would perform, you know, and perform for them. Then my principal at that time said, you know what, I think your primary school teacher was right. You have to fly.
You have to go.
Be an ambassador somewhere. Represent South Africa. So that's when I started. In fact, wherever I would go to a country, instead of me just enjoying myself, I would look for a book. I would read a book.
About the country.
About the country, about the people and the passion. And some of the courses I took at the City University of New York, like anthropology, political science, really opened my mind to see, to make sure that I understand where people come from. There were the stories about Venezuela, you know, all these Hispanic writers of America who are so great.
So what fascinates me is you wrote, it's time for a powerful female president, right? This essay.
Yes.
Now, you know, America just went through their elections and they went to Donald Trump and not Hillary Clinton. But also, here in South Africa, this is where we are now. I mean, we could have Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. We could have Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, who threw her hat in, you know, in the role. The question, are we ready for a female president? Is it not insulting?
You know, for me, I think at that time, I mean, that was like about 15 years ago when I wrote that article. And Hillary Clinton at that time, nobody thought she would, even run for
Yeah.
presidency. And I asked a question, are we ready? Because all this time,
Yeah.
all the presidents were men, were males.
Even for us.
Even for
because
us.
I just feel like, it's being asked in the media everywhere. Are we ready for a female president? I'm
Yes,
like,
we are ready.
what is it that you need to get ready for a female
We
president?
are ready.
What must you change? What do you need to change about you so that you can feel that you're ready for a female president? She's a person, they're a human being.
Yes, this thing is, we should look at it holistically. Like,
Yeah.
one of the students in my class said, it was the first day of class,
Yeah.
and nobody knew I was a professor. So
Yeah.
he said, man, I hope the person who teaches this class is an African brother, Then I said, oh, maybe a sister. Because this course is called African Civilization. And we read books that open your minds, that talk about our inventions. So after he said that, and I said, maybe a sister. Well, he didn't even bother what I was saying, And then all of a sudden, when the time comes, I stand up. Because he greeted me as, hey, babe, how are you, babe?
And then you stand up
He
and then...
was so ashamed. And he said, oh, Professor, I want to drop this class. I'm so ashamed. I said, no, don't drop the class. This is the only chance you have to learn about the motherland.
Cosbie, thank you so much for coming through. Your book, Lady Africa in America, written by Professor Cosbie Mbele. Make sure that you take a swig at it. That's all from our side. Thank you so much from the team. Thank you for allowing us into your living rooms on this public holiday. Have yourself a wonderful Women's Day further, and have a wonderful evening.
That's cheeky.